Hi everyone, Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and today makes 7 months since I've been a YouTuber. Now, part of me wasn't gonna live stream at first, but I've been wanting to talk about one of my previous iPhones. I'm sure a lot of you guys who watch my channel know that I have an iPhone 12. You guys know that because I recently did a 3 years later video on it and many videos prior to that. Well, my iPhone 12 is not at all the first phone or iPhone that I've had. I've had a couple iPhones before that. Let me check the stream on my end here. It's not at all. All right. It's looking good. It's looking good. Okay. So far, we haven't got any comments in. So, I mentioned that I was going to do a live stream on another phone that I had prior. And before I do that, which I am going to do, and you may see me drinking Kool-Aid throughout this live stream. I will say, back in 2018, I had an iPhone 6 Plus. It had no service at the time, but I was just using it. Make sure the volume's all the way up. I was just using that device at the time. Well, after that device, I had an iPhone 7 Plus. That became my main phone for a little bit, about a year. Hold on, I'm going to go ahead and name this stream really quick. Hawkins Tech 7-month anniversary. I believe I got my first comment. Hold on. I will try to read you guys' comments. Hold on a minute. Hold on, I can't quite see the other part of that comment because of the... Okay. I'm getting a couple comments. So, I had a couple of iPhones. I had an iPhone 6 Plus 2018. 6 Plus. That was my first iPhone. And then after that, an iPhone 7 Plus. That was my second. This is actually one of my iPhones. It's the point of why I'm doing this live stream, but I haven't got to that yet. My third iPhone was the one I just showed. You guys already know what the fourth one is. The iPhone 12. And the one I'm getting for my birthday is going to be the iPhone 14, which you guys know that too. However, I want to tell you guys a story about this iPhone. The whole reason why I'm doing this live stream. So let me spin the camera around here. This is my iPhone 12 Pro Max. I have not talked much about this phone. You guys probably didn't even know I had a phone like this. Well, the truth is, I did. And this is the phone that I've been meaning to do a live stream on. Now, unfortunately, I did not get to use this phone for a year. And you guys are looking at why that happened. I won't get into some specific detail, but I am going to tell you guys pretty much the whole story from what I remember of how this, my iPhone being locked, ended up happening. Because this would have been a very good device to start a YouTube channel off of. It had more storage than my iPhone 12. Which the 12 has 64 gigabytes. So back in March of 2022, I was doing a software update. I had no YouTube channel at the time when I did that update. And unfortunately, I gotta hope that it doesn't trigger the setup nearby iPhone on my live streamed device. Unfortunately, I knew a lot, but there were things that I didn't know. And unfortunately, when I updated this iPhone, which is my 12 Pro Max, let me turn my brightness down here. I don't have auto brightness enabled. You guys typically know I do a lot of software updates on my channel and have been for the past 7 months. So back in 2022, back in May or March, I had updated this iPhone to iOS 15.4, which I'm quite sure it's still 3 years later running that version. It's not even updated to iOS 18, and nor can I even update it, as this device can't even use it. So I updated this particular device, and right after I updated on this specific device, I got the hello screen. That's typical, as that was the iOS update. iOS 15 introduced this all new sort of hello screen, which is still present even on iOS 18 and the current iOS 26, which is in beta. So that's still present. I went through the initial setup process, software update, went through some of the steps. There was this feature that was in iOS 18 or 15.4. One of the features at the time where you could have Face ID work while wearing a mask. And I will say that was a pretty good feature, because I won't get into it specifically, but it would have been good for if you're wearing a mask and you wanted to unlock your iPhone. I believe prior you had to unlock via using an Apple Watch. Well, iOS 15, more specifically, iOS 15.4, it brought this new design where you could unlock your iPhone via Face ID with a mask. So you were basically able to unlock your iPhone authenticating Face ID with the mask. Let me look at this comment here. You guys could ask me questions and I will answer them. Hold on, your comments are coming in a little bit too fast here. Gotta keep up. Yeah, I know the feature wasn't enabled by default. But I'm gonna get to the exact story of why this phone is locked the way it is. Now, I'm not going to mention the specific carrier I was on, as I don't want to really go into detail with that. But I am going to mention exactly how this happened. So, as I was doing that iOS update, updating to iOS 18.4, or 15.4, I mean, thinking too much of the newer version, I went through the software update, the hello screen process. I got the hello screen, went through the initial update, and this is basically how this happened. My iPhone wanted me to create a passcode because at the time, I was very worried that I obviously have one now, but at the time I did not. I was worried that I would forget my passcode, which can be typical. And the only way, if you've ever forgotten an iPhone passcode, the only way to fix that problem is you have to basically factory reset your iPhone. You can either put it in recovery mode or you get the whole process. You have to factory reset everything. And if you don't have a backup, you're going to have to start from scratch pretty much. And that's basically where I was, because I tried creating a passcode that I could remember, but at the time, I didn't know this existed until later. There would have been an option that said passcode options. And if I would have enabled that, I could have had multiple options. One of them was a custom numeric code, an alphanumeric code, and don't use passcode. I don't know if there could have been any more after that, but there could have been one that said don't use passcode. Now, naturally, that would have been the one I would have pressed because I would have been a little too worried that I would have forgotten my passcode, but I didn't even get there. So I tried making a passcode, which ended up going in my favor at all. So tried to make a 5-digit passcode, and at the time, I don't remember the 6th number because you can't make 5-digit passcodes without selecting passcode options. And even if you do, you still can't. Hold on. Let me take a second to read your comment. I wasn't planning on using Face ID at that time. I was planning on just keeping my iPhone just like how I previously had it. No passcode. Even though I had thoughts of putting one on there, I just couldn't because I was too worried I would forget it. But obviously I have one now, which is obviously important. It's important to have a passcode on your iPhone. I'm doing well. So at that time, when I got this iPhone, and this was the first iPhone without a home button. Basically, this was the iPhone I had before the 12, basically. So when I updated and went through that process and it wanted me to make that passcode, I ended up forgetting what was the 6th number that I typed. I actually ended up forgetting what it was. So what happened after that was we took this, my family and I took this to, well, for one, we took it to, I won't name the place. We took it somewhere, and they were fortunately able to get it. They were able to factory reset it. However, there was still a problem because it was obviously locked. And since this phone was locked, that means I couldn't even set it up. I wanted to get like a 13 Pro Max or maybe get this phone fixed or get it unlocked. Because I've seen many videos on YouTube where phones like this, they get locked. Then you put them in recovery mode via iTunes on a Windows PC or Finder on a Mac. But I don't have no computer in my office. But I obviously could have taken it somewhere like Apple and they could have reset it, which my family ended up doing, but that still didn't do anything at that point. So basically, after that, been without a phone for about 2 months until I got the iPhone that you guys have seen on this channel for the past 7 months. Because today officially makes 7 months since I've been on YouTube. And tomorrow is going to make a month since I've been on TikTok. And I'll talk more about that probably. I'll do like I'm not going to do a TikTok live stream because I got to figure out how to live stream on TikTok. And even then, TikTok doesn't save live streams, which is, I'm kind of disappointed about because, you know, it's not like YouTube where it saves it as a regular video. I wish it could do that, but unfortunately cannot. So that's pretty much the story of why this is like this. But I'm not finished telling the story. I also did not know my Apple ID. Now that's common. It's absolutely 100% common for a lot of people, myself included, to forget their Apple ID. That's common, as when you go through the initial setup process, when you're downloading apps off the App Store, or you're making purchases in the App Store, or you're even doing anything where you have Face ID enabled or Touch ID enabled, you're not really using your Apple ID at all. So it's common for people to forget it. But I make sure that I don't forget my passcode. I type it in quite often to make sure I don't forget it. Even when I restart my iPhone or after completing a software update, or it'll sometimes do this on its own, where sometimes Face ID is going to randomly disable itself, and I just type in my passcode. So those are steps I take to make sure that I never forget that, so that my iPhone doesn't end up like this one here. I've been wanting to do a live stream on this device for quite a while, and now I have the opportunity to do that. And to show you guys, this is an iPhone 12 Pro Max. I know it looks like the iPhone 15. I wish I knew how to remove this case so that I can show you guys. I'm going to try to do that really quickly. I'm going to try to remove the case for you guys, because I need to show you guys this iPhone. Almost got it. Okay. Now, this is my old iPhone. You guys never would have thought I would have had an iPhone like this, as I use the standard iPhone 12. And I'm going to tell you, I was pretty disappointed when that happened to this device, the situation that I was in back in 2022. But this is my iPhone 12 Pro Max. And it looks just like the iPhone 15 in blue titanium. Now, obviously, this phone doesn't have the new fancy dynamic island like the 16 and the 14 Pro Max has, but it has the standard notch like my iPhone 12. But you get the point. So we have those 3 cameras, and the back of this phone is in really excellent condition. And it does have like the black sides around it. It would be honestly good if I can use a computer and put this in recovery mode and set this up as a new device and then run iOS 26 developer beta on here. That would be absolutely amazing. But this was my iPhone 12 Pro Max. And that's the story of what happened to this device. This is quite a good device. And this was one of the iPhones to introduce the squared off design. Is there a way I can reply to my comments in the chat? I don't know that I can. Oh, the first phone I can. So I might do a review on this phone, but it would be, I'm going to be honest with you, it would be kind of a pointless review because I wouldn't be able to show you guys the home screen, or I wouldn't be able to test the cameras. And this device, it has some pretty good cameras. I mean, it's a Pro Max iPhone. It's a 12 Pro Max. Better than my regular iPhone 12. This phone has pretty decent cameras. You have the 2 cameras and the telephoto lens. And it also has that matte finish. So this was quite an interesting device when it came out. I'm going to go ahead and put it back in its case. Obviously, the iPhone 16 is a better phone than this device. Has much better cameras. And it has a dynamic island. I would say even the 13 Pro Max that came out a year after, it introduced Face ID in landscape mode and 120 Hertz ProMotion on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. But I am getting the iPhone 14, so you guys will see that on the channel. I am going to get the iPhone 14. Let me go ahead and put this back in its case. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that yet. I'm not going to make this a very long live stream. Mainly, I just wanted to talk about the story of what happened to my iPhone 12 Pro Max. As I really liked this device. It was quite nice. I mean, obviously, looking back at it now, a lot of people would think that the 16 Pro Max is so much better, and I agree, than this device. But when this came out back in 2020, this was still a perfectly good flagship. At least for me it was. But I did not buy this in 2020. I got this in July that next year, 2021. The Pro Max iPhones are always better than the standard iPhones. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this live stream. I kind of wanted to mention about this iPhone and mention it in a live stream. I'm Mr. Hawkins with Hawkins Tech, and I will see you guys in the next video.